So I'm here with Darlene and Lori. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Where are we, by the way?
The Huntington, they just changed their name, the Huntingdon Library, Museum
Gardens?
and Gardens or something like
Anyway, the Huntington in San Marino,
Huntington.
California. And we're talking about a poem called Gray Room by Wallace Stevens. So I'll read it and then we'll talk about it for 5 minutes or so.
Cool.
All right. Gray Room. Although you sit in a room that is gray, except for the silver of the straw paper, and pick at your pale white gown, or lift one of the green beads of your necklace to let it fall, or gaze at your green fan printed with the red branches of a red willow, or with one finger move the leaf in the bowl, the leaf that has fallen from the branches of the forsythia beside you. What is all this? I know how furiously your heart is beating. Oh boy, okay. So, Darlene, set the scene. It looks like we have one person in a room, and what else? What's happening?
Well, it seems like we have one person, and we have one person who's observing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Can you describe the space?
on first glance, it's a gray room. So that's our first impression, that the room
We're
is
told
gray.
it's gray.
Right.
By the title in the first line.
And then we have an accept. And we don't know how big that accept is going to get, but
And
it
Lori,
gets pretty
it
big.
gets kind of big. So
does.
what is, it's comic in that sense, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a gray room, but.
But there's all this color.
Yeah.
There's all this
Right.
stuff happening.
So the speaker is looking. What is the speaker looking at, Lori?
The speaker's looking at this person in this room.
Can
who
you be,
is-
yeah, go ahead.
who's kind of playing with her necklace, and it just seems very languorous. It seems like this sort of,
Mm-hmm.
there's a fan, you imagine them kind of in, she's like moving the leaf in the bowl, very,
Darlene, what is her mood, attitude, situation? Do we have any evidence?
Well, she seems to just be biding time, maybe waiting.
Okay, so she's waiting. What's a sign, a physical movement sign that she's waiting?
You lift your playing with the necklace, letting it
Right.
fall,
You
looking
play
at your
with-
fan,
Right.
moving things in a bowl.
Yeah. So one option is waiting. Is there another option for her mood, attitude, situation? Other than waiting? Waiting suggests patience. She's a little fidgety.
Well, maybe she's fidgety. I was just going to say that because pick is the first word that we see there as
Yeah.
to what her
pick
action
at the
is.
pale
Yeah.
white
Pick at
gown.
the pale white
I mean,
gown.
letting it fall suggests a certain amount of anxiety or insecurity or, yeah. And then the finger moving the leaf in the bowl, that's a very suggestive,
yeah, it's almost sensual.
it's almost sensual. So I guess it's time to turn to the speaker, observer. What is this speaker doing, saying, feeling about the woman he observes? We're assuming he.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah,
and
we're
assuming that it's a,
assuming-
well, I guess gown would
Yeah, I think it's
assume
safe
it's a
to
woman.
assume the woman the
Yeah, a
person being
necklace.
observed is a woman. And we're going to assume, just because we don't have a lot of time, to assume that the speaker is a man. I mean, let's say it's a Wallace Stevens-like figure. Okay. So what's going on?
Well, he's watching and he knows what she's doing and he knows what's going on, and I think it seems to me that besides what he's viewing, he knows why she's there and he knows why she's anxious.
Yeah, I wonder, because
He says he does.
Right.
he
I
says
know
he
how
knows,
furiously. Do you
Right.
believe him?
Well, I feel like he's looking at it, and the what is all this is saying basically that what's happening, what she's seeing, what he's seeing her doing, kind of is counter to what he knows about her.
Oh, in other words,
That's interesting.
I'm seeing you do all this fidgeting.
He's kind of fidgety, or just even just this like,
And then,
but I
what
know
is
you're
all
like
this?
this.
I know better. And what would he know better? If it's a seduction poem or a love poem,
Right.
he'd be pretentiously, I believe, saying, "I know you're nervous, but you really like me." Is that possible?
Oh boy.
I know how furiously your
I
heart
know
is
how
beating.
Why else
furiously
does a
your
heart
heart is
beat?
beating.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So is he full of shit?
Maybe.
Where is he? Where's
Well,
the speaker observer?
I
in
almost
the room?
imagine that he's not in the. I imagine he's like
A one-way mirror?
in like the doorway, like around the edge of the doorway.
This is
kind of
very,
watching
very
them. It does seem
complicated.
more complicated.
You
than
know,
it should
it's worth saying that this is a very early poem by Stevens, I believe 1917. So this is in his quasi-imagist, early modernist phase.
I was going to say
so
that
it's
there's
very,
a lot of imagism in there.
There really is. And also the interest in things Japanese, for better or worse, in this period of imagism and of Anglo-American poetry. So, in a way, can it be said that the speaker has orientalized this woman by making her a kind of object in the room with all this kind of fun, modern stuff?
I suppose we could say that. We don't say that anymore.
We don't use the word orientalized,
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
I'm using that in
Yeah,
quotes,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
that makes me think of that Pound poem.
An Ezra
Right.
Pound poem called The Encounter.
Yeah.
Right, I remember
Right.
that.
And
yeah.
as I rose to
Right.
go,
Mm-hmm.
her hand was like, her finger was like her fingers, I think plural, was like a Japanese paper
Right.
napkin.
And then you've got the straw paper, the silver, the straw paper. Yeah.
Is it possible that the speaker doesn't know anything? Does not know why her? Is it possible that she's
She's.
not
maybe
interested?
Yeah, maybe he's even just making the whole thing
Oh,
up.
I see what you're saying. That this is what she's doing, and although it's contrary to what he knows, he doesn't actually know that. He's assuming that because he wants her to want him, or to
Yeah.
want whatever he's wanting.
We have a paradox here, or an irony. It's a gray room, but he, the poet-type observer, has filled it with all kinds of color, making it very poetic.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you each for a final thought on this poem. How you feel about the speaker, how you feel about the poetics. What's the complication? Why is it interesting? Why did we pick it? So I bought you a little time by saying all that. Darlene, your final thought on this?
Well, it surprises me as I read it. Because although you sit in a room that is gray, even though there's that although there, we still get a lot of action, a lot of bright, a lot of color. And it does make me wonder, why does he think he knows how, why does he think he know how she's feeling? That's an unanswered question.
Mm-hmm. Lori?
So for me, I found it kind of amusing when I first read it. It starts with, although you sit in a room that is gray, and then he contradicts it with all of these colors and all of this stuff that is not gray, and then never really finishes his sentence, and then says, "What is all this?"
This is a very,
which is
what does this refer to?
And this, I assume this stuff, all this action, all this color in this gray room, that I put you in this gray room. Like I'm going meta.
What is all this meaning? The poem ahead,
like
prior to that?
how did my
What's
gray
going
room
on?
turn into a colorful
That's
room
very
with
smart.
you doing stuff that
That's
you're
good,
very
Lori.
smart.
and then he's kind of stating, I know how furiously your heart is beating because I put you in this room, and I want
The whole
you.
thing is an artifact. The whole thing is an aesthetic, very much like that pound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's artifactual. Everything is constructed in it, including the scene, including the possible emotion.
Right.
It's possible that this is a poem which is showing off, or the speaker observer is showing off how aestheticized he can make anything. And then he almost convinces himself that she's really feeling the emotion that he has constructed through the aesthetic. It makes us doubt. It could be that Stevens is presenting this ironically. Well, thank you both. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
If you liked this episode, watch another, and subscribe.
And join us for ModPo, a free and open course at modpo.org.